Hi everyone, this is Fabian,
This is Giancarlos.
And I am Adolfo.
and today here we are to explain you the difference between compound and complex sentences in English.
And in Spanish. First, for you to take into account, we need to know what is a dependent clause and an independent clause. First of all, an independent clause is a sentence which has a verb and expresses a complete idea. A dependent clause usually starts with a subordinator, such as when I was 5 years old, for example. That is a dependent clause. An independent clause it would be I am 30 years old. And that's the difference. Okay. So a compound sentence is two or more independent clauses joined together. Now, there are three ways in which you can join these independent clauses. The first one is to add a semicolon. The second one is to add a coordinator, and the third one is to add a conjunctive adverb. Now you might be wondering what is a conjunctive adverb or what is a coordinator.
First of all, we are going to discuss coordinators. There are 7 of them, which you can remember by the acronym FAMBOS, which stand for the words for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. For is to add a reason. For example, Japanese people live longer than most other nationalities, for they eat healthful diets. And is to add a similar or equal idea. For example, they eat a lot of fish and vegetables, and they eat lightly.
Okay, so nor is used to add an equal but negative idea. For example, they do not eat a lot of red meat, nor do they eat many dairy products. And we have also but, that is used to add an opposite idea. I mean, for example, diet is one factor on in how people live, but it is not the only factor to take into account.
We can also use or, which is to add an alternative possibility. For example, people should limit the amount of animal fat in their diets, or they risk getting heart disease. We can also use yet. This is to add an unexpected or surprising continuation. For example, cigarette smoking is a factor in longevity, yet Japanese and other long-lived Asians have a very high rate of tobacco use. And finally, we can use so. This is to add an expected result. For example, doctors say that stress is another longevity factor, so they try to avoid stress if you wish to live a longer life.
Do not forget that to use the coordinator, you have to add a comma before the coordinator.
Okay, so there are also another way for you to make a compound sentence, and is with the use of a conjunctive adverb. It would be like independent clause, remember, semicolon, the conjunctive adverb, the comma, and the other independent clause. Now, there are several classifications of conjunctive adverbs for you to make a compound sentence. We have to add a similar or equal idea. We can have also, we can have in addition, furthermore, moreover, etc. For example, community colleges offer preparation for many occupations. Furthermore, or also, or moreover, they prepare students to transfer a 4-year college or university. Now, there are another category which is to add an unexpected or surprising continuation. For example, however, nevertheless, nonetheless, still. A clear example of this would be like the cost of attending a community college is low. However, nevertheless, many students need financial aid.
Now, we can also have to add a complete contrast. In this case, we can use on the other hand or in contrast. An example would be tuition at a community college is low. On the other hand, or in contrast, tuition at private schools is high. Also, we can have to give an alternative possibility. In this case, we can use only one conjunctive adverb that is otherwise. An example would be, students must take final exams, otherwise they will receive a grade of incomplete.
Now, to add an expected result, we can use accordingly, as a result, consequently, hence, thus, and therefore. For example, native and non-native English speakers have different needs. Accordingly, consequently, hence, therefore, most schools provide separate English classes for each group. And finally, to add an example, for example and for instance, most colleges now have a writing requirement for graduation. For example, for instance, students at my college must pass a writing test before they register for the first semester.
Okay, and the final way for you to make a compound sentence is to add a semicolon. So it would be like independent clause, semicolon, and the other independent clause. So, for example, Poland was the first Eastern European country to turn away from communism. Semicolon, others soon followed. And period.
There are three kinds of dependent clauses: adjectives, adverbs, and nouns.
Now, first of all, we are going to discuss complex sentences with adverb clauses. An adverb clause acts like an adverb, that is, it tells where, when, why, and how. An adverb clause also begins with a subordinator, such as when, while, because, although, if, so, or that. And it can come before or after the independent clause. So, for example, a citizen can vote in the United States when he or she is 18 years old.
Now, there are also complex sentences that can be formed with adjective clauses. For these adjective clauses, as its name says, describes or functions as an adjective. So they describe a pronoun or a noun. These adjective clauses usually start with pronouns such as who, whom, which, whose, or that. Now, an example of this could be like men who are not married are called bachelors.
And now, if we have a complex sentence with noun clauses, a noun clause begins with if, that, whether, and with WH questions. A noun clause acts like a noun. It can be either the subject or the object of the independent clause. And here you have two examples. That there is a hole in the ozone layer of the Earth's atmosphere is well known. And scientists know what caused it.